Hi there, my name is Jimmy Bonero, and in this video we're going to look at how to split a document with the barcode component using an external script. If you've ever worked with the barcode component in AutoStore, you may have configured workflows where if a given barcode value is detected, that value should either be extracted or used to determine where we're going to split a job. And one of the most common ways in which we can determine where we can split a given job is if it meets a regular expression or a wildcard pattern. Well, besides these two options, there is a third option that's available, and that's with using an external script. In general, we would look to an external script when we're trying to apply some kind of logic to the decision on whether or not we need to split at any given point within the job. This is a more advanced technique, and an understanding of VBScript is going to be needed. So let's get started by looking at a scenario which goes beyond detecting a barcode that fits a regular expression or a wildcard. We have a sample document here that is 10 pages, and we're looking at page 1 of 10. The barcode value that you see is 1001. Now when I go to the second page of 10, you'll notice that on page 2 I've got the same barcode, which is 1001. It's the same value as on page 1. When I go to page 3, it's the same value. However, when I go to page 4, the value has changed from 1001 to 1002. Now, when we see this change in the barcode value, this is where we want to actually split the job. So if I go to page 5, it's also 1002. But when I go to page 6, I've got a new value. So now, because I've got a change, I need to split here. Going to the next page of 7 of 10, I got 1004. Page 8 and page 9 is also the same value. And then when I go to page 10, I've got a new value, 1005. So let's move this out of the way. And I've got a configuration that's already built with the components that we're going to use. I've got auto capture. This is how we're going to capture the document. Then I've got our barcode component where we're going to apply an external script inside. The document writer is simply in here for testing purposes. We're going to add some RRT values and look at the output to determine what our results are during our barcode process. So this is not a required component. We're just using it to test our output. And then I'm just going to drop the files along with the document writer output into a folder. Okay, so coming into our auto capture component, I have an action here called split on barcode change. I'm going to edit that, and I'm going to go to the barcode component to configure that. We're going to turn it on, and then the barcodes that I have on our sample document are code 3 of 9. So I'm going to select those, that type of barcode. Now I'm going to say split on barcode, and we're going to use an external script. The scripts button is available, and when I come in here, the scripts list is presented where I can basically add multiple scripts to use as far as determining the logic on how I want to split. Now we're going to add two scripts into this scenario. The first script is going to collect all of the barcode values that are in all of the pages that are run through in the job, and then the second script that we're going to run is going to apply the split sequence logic that we need in order to determine how we're going to split that job up. So I'm going to add a script by clicking on the add button, and this will get us to creating our very first script here. So there's three key areas. One is a script file, a run condition, and script variables. For script file, what we can do is, if you have a script for the barcode component already, you can go ahead and paste the value. So the entire path, including the file name and the extension, you would paste right in here. And then you'll notice that this edit button is grayed out, and it's grayed out because there's no value inside of here. The name of our first script is going to be called collect barcodes. And when I click edit, it'll open up the script editor, and I can start building the script, and it'll be working in a temporary location. What I would like to do is I have a project folder that's already set up, and inside I've got a code files folder with a barcode folder in here. And I want to save that file in here. So I'm going to take this path and I'm going to prepend the name of the file that I want. And then I'm going to click Edit. And when I do, it'll say cannot find this file, which is true because it doesn't exist. However, when I click OK, I can start typing my code in here and I can save it. One commented line which describes what the purpose of this script is, which is simply to collect all the barcode values, and we're going to create a semicolon delimited string. So when I click on Save and I open up my folder where my code files are, you can see I've got the file saved right here. So I'm going to close this out. We have some more code to write, but we're going to just close this out. And we're going to go to the next thing, which is the run condition. In this case, the run condition that we're going to use is that for every page that comes in, we're going to want to look at every single page and analyze what is the barcode value on each one. Now this script variables section here is where we can define script variables where we can pass information on from one script to the next script to the next script. So in the case if I have multiple scripts, I can pass these values on amongst the scripts. We're going to add two variables. The first one is going to be called all values. Now here I don't have anything listed in the variable name, and when I drop down this list there's nothing in there. So what we can do is we can just type it in. So this is in essence pretty much assigning the name of the variable. All values is going to have a variable scope of global. And the initial value is not going to be anything. We're not going to assign anything right here. This is going to be a variable that collects all of the values on all the barcodes on all of the pages. So I click OK, and we're going to add one more. And you'll notice if I drop down, all values is listed here. But we're going to create a new variable called current value. Current value is going to have a variable scope of local. So we'll leave that there. And we need to assign an initial value that's part of the barcode component, but in the available RRTs I do not have it listed here. So what I'm going to do for now is I'm just going to click OK to come back to our action. And when I reopen the barcode component and I go to my scripts and I select the script list here and I click on Edit, here are my available RRTs. I have barcode here. And I want to come back to current value, click Edit, and in the initial value I want to use all barcodes from the page. So on each page is how we're running the script, but then on each page give me the barcode value for each page. And we're going to assign that to current value. So those are all the script variables. Now we're going to come back into the script file. We're going to click on Edit. Okay, and if you'll notice that I have the variables that I defined, first one being all values and then the next one being current values. What we're saying here basically is this: if there's anything inside of all values, if it's greater than 0, if there's a value inside of all values that's greater than 0, then what I want you to do is all values is going to equal the value of all values and a semicolon plus whatever the current value is, meaning the barcode. Otherwise, just make all values the barcode. What we're ultimately trying to do is we're trying to produce a string that is going to be semicolon delimited. And in this case here, we would be reading the barcode value from the first page. In our case, it would be 1001. As I step through each one of the pages, then all values should be built to produce a string where we're getting the sequence of all of the barcode values from each page. So in our example, and there's a few more pages here, but we'll just add just a few just to paint the picture of what we're doing here. As we step through each page, the first one will be 1001, and then the next page as we go through it, it'll also be 1001, and then we'll also be getting it from the following page after that. So we're taking current values, and what this is supposed to be is basically for the first value that we run into. Is we're going to assign that, and then everything after that subsequently we'll add the semicolon after that. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and save, and we'll click close. Alright, and I click OK, and this is the first script. So the first script is going to be to collect all the barcodes. Now the next script that we're going to do is we're actually going to apply the logic for when the value changes. So we'll click Add. I'm going to use the same path because I want all of the scripts to be inside of here. And the name of this script is going to be onValueChange.vbs. We want to run this on each document. And when I click on Edit, again we get that error, which is fine because it's not saved. And the purpose of this script is to determine what the split sequence should be for the all values global variable. So as all values comes in, what we're going to do is we're going to split all the values up using a semicolon, which values becomes an array. And then what we're going to do is splitting is going to become our split sequence. We also have another variable here that is a boolean that says do split. Is it time to split, yes or no? Then what we do is we loop through values from the lower bound of values +1. And we're doing +1 because we're already starting the split sequence at page 1. Lower bound +1 to the upper bound of values. So whatever the highest element is within the values array, we basically loop through that many times. So as I do the loop, the first thing I do is I establish the do split as false. So we just initialize that with a false value. The next thing we do is we're going to compare the value that we're getting. So the values, and then I is going to be for I equals, we're going to basically start with the first one, then the second one, and the third one. And we want to make sure that the length of that has something in it. And when it does have something in it, then what we want to say is that all values, wherever the current one is equal to I values, whatever the current one is, less 1. Less 1 will be the value of the one previous to the one that I'm currently at right now. If the values from the current barcode value is equal to the values of the one previous, then do not split. Otherwise, do split. Then as we're doing that, we're creating the split sequence for splitting. And again, we're saying that if there isn't anything in splitting, go ahead and assign splitting and then add a comma. Otherwise, add a semicolon. And the semicolon is going to represent how it's going to be the breakpoint. The breakpoint will be determined by a semicolon, and then the comma is going to be basically going to be for those pages where we're not splitting. So in the case where do split ends up being false, then we're just basically saying you're going to be page 1, comma 2, comma 3, but then between pages 3 and 4, I'm going to end up applying a semicolon there. Let me save this, and we're going to add a variable which is going to be all values, and that's going to be global, and no initial value here. And I'm going to click OK. Let me come back to each page, click on Edit, and we're going to take this, because this is what all values is going to equal. We'll save that. Come back into each document, click on the script for on the change value, and so if I get all values and I split it, Alright, so output pages I'm going to say equals 1, comma 2, comma 3, and then in between page 3 and 4 we add a semicolon. Page 4 and 5 are going to be together, and then between page 5 and 6 we're going to add a split, and then between page 6 and 7 we're going to add a split because we've got a value change in between that sequence. So let me comment out those items, save, click OK. Alright, and that's the external script, the two scripts that we're going to be adding for determining the split sequence in this example. So now what I want to do is come to the document writer. We're going to activate that. And what I've already done is I've built some different areas here where I'm taking some of these barcode RRTs and we're outputting them so we could see what they look like after everything's been processed. And I'll come to send a folder. We'll go into the output folder. And for now, we're just going to add a counter and a file extension just to test. Alright, so I'll save and we'll start our service, and let's run a test through. And here's our sample document. We'll run that through. Alright, and should be ready to go in our output folder, and here we are. So the very first one, we have 1001, and if I click on this text file, this is what our document writer produced. Barcode pages are 1 through 3, and the number of documents that it output are a total of 5. And in this case, all the barcodes that it found on here were 1001, 1001, and 1001. All these are the same. So it found 3 barcodes on this first page. When I look at the second one, this should be 1002. And when I come in here, it found 2 barcodes that were the same value. Third page, it only found 1 barcode. Third page it found 3, and then the fifth page it found 1. So as I open up this last one, here this is 1005, and it's just a one-page document. And here the 1004 one is page 1 through 3, so if I navigate to the second page it's the same, and then finally the next one it's the same as well. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is I'd like to use, in this case 1001 is the barcode value, and I'd like to name the file based on this barcode value. And then this, for the second one, this is 1002. So if I'm separating them, I'd like for that barcode value to associate with the file name for each one. So I'll go ahead and get rid of these. Come back. And what we're going to do is go back into our barcode component. Alright, and we're going to use, we already have a script to do the splitting, but we're going to do a field value that will provide the file name. And I'm going to call this BC1 for barcode 1. And it's on page number 1, barcode number 1. We'll add that. Now I've got a field value here called BC1, and I'll come to send a folder, And for the file name, we'll add that to the beginning. All right, I'll click OK. All right, and let's run that sample file. And it's already done. And as you can see, I've got the file name where each one is its own document using the barcode value for each one. So this is an example of how we can use an external script to define what the split sequence should be based on the fact that there's a barcode change. And so I hope this has been informative. Until next time, thanks for watching.